What's going on? It's your boy Dame Smiff, and this morning we're gonna talk about food tracking. And food tracking is pretty much a great way for you guys to understand what you're eating. But we're specifically gonna talk about like when to food track, how to like think about food tracking, and when to really utilize it. Because you hear coaches all the time tell you, "Yeah, track your food," and I see people tracking their food, but it doesn't really mean anything to them until they see the data, and when they see the data, they still have to know what they're looking at, right? But that is kind of like a conversation you would have with your coach, depending on your goals. So, like, if you want to lose weight, a lot of people will look at, like, oh, well, I got to cut out carbs, or I got to start, cutting out sugar and stuff like that. But there's, ways that you can lose weight, like specifically lower the scale or change the way your body looks without cutting out a bunch of foods or restricting your foods and diets and things like that, right? And that's something you'll understand with your coach. So I just want to give you quick little tips that when you are on this journey that will help you along the way. So if you like conversations like this, make sure you hit the like button and also subscribe so you can see my latest tips and things like that. I do a lot of musical content, artistic content, but fitness is going to be like a pillar here at this channel. So today's topic is about when to prep your food and how to prep your food for meal tracking. So if you're a person who likes to cook, let me know in the comments. If you're a person that prefers for food to be prepared for you, let's say like going to a restaurant, DoorDash, Uber Eats, mom, whoever's making food for you, maybe your wife, right? How do you prefer your food to be prepared? So some people, I'm learning, at least for myself, ideally, if I had a choice, I prefer food to be made fresh, like right in front of me, put the food down in front of me and I eat it, right? And what that does is it kind of makes me appreciate the work behind it, the tangibles, the intangibles that come to making food. And I started to kind of gather that appreciation when I visited more restaurants that weren't so convenient, but really take pride in like how food is prepared and things like that. And then of course learning more about cooking and the techniques and things. So when you order certain foods, you know what it takes to make the dish and you kind of appreciate how it tastes when it comes out right. So that also helped me a lot. But there is also a great value in just, having something ready to go. Just a ready to microwave dish or a wrapped up burger, just good to go, easy, convenient, you don't have to think. So what do you prefer? Because that's kind of key in how we're going to approach this conversation and how you're going to be able to manage getting to your goals. So I'm working with a coach, shout out Coach Joe, my dog, and pretty much he prefers a flexible diet approach. That's one of the diet approaches that most people can work with. And that's a diet approach that is very, very, very easy to understand. And it's just calories in, calories out. And then you just understand a little bit of the macronutrients you need for your body and your goals. And then you can make an adjustment. So let's say if you want to lose weight, but you don't want to just get thinner, you want to kind of pack on some muscle while you burn some fat. Well, you can eat a lot of the food you like within reason. And then if you're tracking them, you can understand how many calories the food you enjoy you're putting in your body. And then you can consider how much you're moving. And then that will show you how much weight you're going to lose over time. So that's just you trying to lose weight. But if you want to lose weight and maintain or pack on muscle, you have to feed your muscles. See, muscles are kind of like their own thing. They eat and they feel and stuff like that, and they help you out and they help you move. But they have resources that they need to consume, and these are called protein, grams of protein. And they basically take these little blocks and they build up more muscle fibers for you. And this is usually done through like sleep and things like that. So after a workout, you're feeling the pump, you've basically done a lot of pain to your body. So now we're going to restore and make it stronger. But in order to build up these muscles and make them stronger, I'm really simplifying this. So you super nerds, go ahead and roast me. But you're basically going to have to allow your body to restore itself. And the resources using to restore these muscles are called proteins. These protein sources come from all kinds of places, all kinds of foods. And so you have to figure out, okay, if I'm going to go into the gym and I'm going to work really, really hard, how much protein do I need to not only maintain the muscle that I got, so that way I don't just, feel like crap, but I also need to figure out how much protein I need to eat to grow, to make myself stronger, so that way burning fat becomes easier to do. Because if you're already overweight with little muscle, it's hard to work out. Like, it's difficult. But as you start to lose weight, the muscles you have will begin to have the capacity to move your body, but then you're going to ask for more of your body. Like, you're going to be moving more, you're going to be lifting heavier. You may even just, start a relationship. You might just be busier. So your body's going to demand more. So now you have to really consider, all right, well, if I want to lose weight, how do I do this, maintain muscle, and then not feel like crap? And that's another nutrient you have to figure out. So we can go into the weeds about like what foods to eat, what foods give you energy and all that stuff like that. But we just simply wanted to break down the levels. So you could eat whatever you want and eat less of it and you would lose weight. But if you want to eat what you want, lose weight and build muscle, then there's certain foods you have to eat. But if you want to eat the food you want, lose weight, build muscle, and then feel great, and then have a certain specific goal for your skin, certain specific goal for aging and all this other stuff, then you really have to consider the food you're eating. So there's levels to it, and you just kind of like find your level and then gradually go to, wherever you're comfortable. Some people are cool with eating whatever they want every day. They're absolutely okay with that. Some people do not track their food. A lot of you don't, like, let's be honest. And so how did those people get six packs? Well, for them, they focus on the activity. So they move so much, do so many things that there's no way they could out eat, the amount of activity they do. But for the average person, most people, we either are teetering the line of too little activity or way too little activity. So we're right there. Most of you are not working out enough. So the idea behind tracking your food is just to know where you are, just to be like, okay, I'm eating too much now, so maybe I need to change how I'm eating, or I'm eating too little. Like, that may be why I'm having, my moods, or I'm not reaching the potential I'd like, for my body and things like that. So that's how you'll find that out. And then again, there's levels to it. Certain nutrients affect the body certain ways, certain foods affect your body certain ways. So that's where you got to talk to your coach and doctor and figure out what specifically works for your body, right? And so I'll give you a quick little tip, and then we'll go ahead and we'll call it a morning, get you on to your day. So the tip I have for you is, if you do want to start cooking your foods and really understanding what your favorite foods do to your body and how you're going to track it, the best tip I can give for you as you're tracking your food, or as you're cooking your food, when you're preparing your items, like chopping up your veggies, or maybe, let's say if you're making a cheeseburger, you have your patty and your toppings and then your bun. You want to weigh out and track those ingredients before you start cooking. And the reason you do that is because the amounts of foods that you have in there, they'll change and they'll adjust, and sometimes they'll be too difficult to track. So let's say if it was like a casserole, there's no way you would know how to track the ingredients in each scoop. So before you start actually cooking, you would weigh out what you're going to put in the pan, pot, or oven, and that will tell you what's going to be in your dish as far as the amount of calories and nutrients and things like that, especially if you're using a fitness food or tracking app, a food tracking app. So a lot of this information is very easy to find, and it just takes a little bit of intentional thinking to get it done. Now, I'll kind of give you the pros and cons of it. The pros are that you get a lot of information for the food you're eating. The cons is that it's time consuming. So whereas before you probably could just open a bag of French fries, toss them in the air fryer, and then just hit deet, and then you start eating in about 10, 15 minutes. You now have to kind of take a second to figure out how much of the fries you're eating before you start eating. That's pretty much the only con to tracking your food. But let me know if this was helpful to you. Hit that like button and let me know in the comments what some of the foods you enjoy and how they have helped you reach your goals. And I will see you guys tomorrow. I'm out.